Thank you very much, Rebecca. Yes, there are some differences in the Edmonton market to Vancouver, including the Edmonton Oilers hockey team still in the playoffs, while as the Canucks are not. So sorry about that, but hey, we're on cloud nine right now here in the Chuck, so we'll just keep sprinkling that in every now and then. I am going to share with you. James did a great job. Thanks again, James, for the Vancouver update. For anybody that's interested in Edmonton information, you can go to the Realtors Association of Edmonton. This information gets updated at the beginning of the upcoming month. So it's interesting for us to always be doing this on the last Wednesday of the month because we're always about a week away from new information. And basically, if you want to know where exactly to find it, you just go here to monthly housing stats. And I'll just make sure that that's still popping up. And so here basically is the information. And then you can also catch these stats, which I will share with you now as well. So Edmonton has really actually it's been quite interesting what's happened over the course of 2022. And again, because we are mostly the way through May, it has a bit of a weird feeling to it because we're still busy. Good homes in good areas are still selling quickly, but it has slowed down from the craziness of January to March. It actually does say in the monthly update that April has moved from a seller's market to a balanced market. So interesting that we're still busy. And again, good houses in good areas are selling quickly. They are selling for a little bit over list or at list or maybe a little bit under. Multiple bids are still happening, selling relatively quickly. But it's not that absolute crazy feeding frenzy that we had in January to March. So a lot of sellers feel like they missed out, even to the point where I know a couple of people have already decided that they're not going to list, which in a way can be helpful for the sellers. But there has been a lot of listings come on the market. That's one of the reasons that things dropped by 10% in activity in April from March. And also the interest rate hike also, caused a few buyers to do what James suggested and pause. And that also loosened up the market a little bit. So it's an opportunity here where, as I said in one of the breakout rooms, everybody's kind of mildly disappointed right now. Buyers are mildly disappointed because sometimes they do have to pay over list, but there's more selection and they're not frantically running out to look at a property that might go pending in hours. Sellers are still getting a list price or maybe a little bit over list, or maybe a little bit under, but they're still listing to the friend of theirs or the neighbor that sold 3 months ago for $40,000 over list, and that's a little bit upsetting for them. So again, we are in a balanced market. Just some stats to share with you. So again, we decreased 10% in activity from March, but we're up 2% from April last year, and that's a good sign because April was one of the strongest months of 2021. Increased new listings went up 9% year over year. Single family unit sales were down 6.3% from last year. Single family homes right now are averaging $510,000. That's an 11.5% year over year increase and an increase from March of 1.4%. Condos sold for an average of $237,000. That's an increase of 3.7%. Single family homes average 23 days on markets. That's a 4-day decrease. Condos average 45 days, decreasing by 6 days month over month. And duplexes average 24 days on the market. So overall, listings are averaging about 31 days on market. So that's where things are at. Basically, we're in a balanced market. We'll find out in a week from now where things are at. The expectation is that I think we're probably going to still be in that balanced market. Things are going to continue to be strong. It is very seasonal in Edmonton, and we do stay strong right through basically until the beginning of the summer, when everybody starts to head out to the lake and sit on patios and go to outdoor concerts and various things like that. So, and then we'll see where things take us from there. I do want to bring to everyone's attention a great article that I saw on CBC News a couple of weeks ago. And that's Edmonton could be headed towards a supply shortage, says the real estate industry leaders. So 2 weeks ago, there was an event called the Real Estate Forum It took place, as I said, 2 weeks ago, and they're saying that supply chain problems, rising interest rates, and more people moving to Alberta could contribute to a housing supply shortage in Edmonton that could happen in 12 months. That's what the president of Rohit Group of Companies, Rohit Communities is a big Edmonton builder in town. That's what he said during a panel discussion. The question was asked to each of them, what keeps you up at night? And again, it's the supply chain problems. There's long lead times on mechanical items, including refrigeration, gas coolers, transformers, a huge pent up demand for purchases because everyone's kind of getting back to normal from COVID, but the supply chain is not necessarily up to speed right now. And so what's happening there is that there's a lot of people that are, a lot of big builders that are having to wait. Things are taking a lot longer. And that, again, that's the suggestion of the housing shortage. I can also tell you that on an investor side, I talk to a lot of investors and more of them are having a big challenge with getting contractors to come out and do their flips, do their burrs, do their forced appreciation improvements. Even some pretty aggressive investors who had 2 or 3 guys that always put them at the top of the list to do work are now suggesting that they can't get to that latest purchase for anywhere from 4 weeks to 8 weeks. And so they're having to sit on these properties. So that's definitely a concern to keep an eye on. The vice president of Alberta Client Services for Oberfeld Snowcap, again, another big Edmonton, Alberta player in the real estate community. He expects the supply chain problems to get back to normal in 18 months to 2 years. So there's going to be definitely some interesting times over the course of the next 12 to 18 months. Some more information that I think from an investor standpoint, I mean, again, we're talking about supply and demand, and when there's low supply and high demand, that's when we're going to see an increase in real estate prices. StatsCan showed that Alberta saw the most interprovincial migration during the last 3 months of 2021. That marks the first time since 2015 that Alberta led the country in that metric. And I certainly know, I know last month, Tyler from Libertas Property Management and myself both commented on the fact that we're dealing with a lot more people that are either looking to invest or definitely looking to move here from Ontario and BC, but especially Ontario. Again, this article, just kind of scrolling down to where I'm talking about, most people came from Ontario. Where they're choosing to go to first is Calgary, but Ontarians' interest in Edmonton has definitely accelerated. The affordability is a big reason. I know in talking to people that I've helped move here from Ontario, that's the biggest reason they're able to buy a really nice single family home and put $500,000 of capital into their pocket. And then the other thing as well was a record number of immigrants moved to Canada last year, but the housing supply has not caught up. And again, so that all leads to the fact that, there's going to be a huge demand and little supply on the real estate markets over the course of the next 12 to 18 months. So again, the rule of supply and demand, if there's little supply and lots of demand, that should suggest that prices are going to go up over the course of the next 12 to 18 months. That is your update.